Who pays you?
There are ads on the site.
Oh, there's ads on your site. So,
And,
okay.
I mean, the way I started mine was I go home to my wife and she'd hear me talk Giants baseball all the time. So decided to make a site and just talk baseball. And I would always try to find all these different rumors from different sites. So I decided on my own just to bring them all to one, and that's how I got my site going.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. I know the barriers to entry in the blogging market are rather low. You can probably set one up within probably like 15, 20 minutes. It's pretty quick and easy, but the hardest part is probably staying with it and posting regularly, because I think that's what we saw last year, especially like after the All-Star break, once the Giants were doing well. It seemed like there was a new one every day or so, but so a lot of it is you start one and you don't necessarily realize how much you have to write every day, kind of a thing. So that's it.
And mostly you start, it's free. You're not you're not getting paid, so you have to really want to keep doing it and stay persistent. And then after time, there's ways to make money off it, but I don't think it's a full-time job for any of us at this point. It's more of a labor of love kind of thing.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, my wife started one when I came out. It was Fire Bruce Bochy. I couldn't believe it was her that started that. No, that's good. I was just curious because I don't go online a lot. I get a lot of my work online with the iPad, and it's pretty amazing what my IT department here can do for us, get our scouting reports and everything. But I don't do a lot of work on the computer. More than my general manager, though. I'll say that. It saves. Rarely does he ever go on.
No.
But, anyway, hi. Y'all have any questions?
I know your son's in the organization. Just that it's hard to not be able to watch any of his games. Do you get to follow?
Well, actually, I can watch his games again. Talking about what's available now for me on a computer is I can watch any of our minor leaguers and get video of them playing or pitching, including my son. So last year in Augusta, I would I'd plug him in and watch him pitch and make any comments I wanted to him. But he did a great job. There's not much I could say. He had some great numbers, so there's not much I could say to him.
Do you think some teams might be looking past you guys a year removed from the World Series? Last year, I think you probably faced the stiffest competition, being the defending champions. Think it'll change this year, 2012?
I think a little bit. It probably will change. You're not a target, so to speak. Although this pitching staff is so well respected, they know when they play us, they're going to have their hands full with this pitching. But I'd say Arizona's going to have to be the team to beat this division, because the year they had, they won 94 games and. They have a very strong pitching staff and bullpen, and they're playing with a lot of confidence. So I do think there will be some teams looking past us.
How do you think the team will be improved in 2012 compared to last year?
Well, I think you start with the fact we're healthy. We're getting our catcher back. Buster, we certainly missed him, and Freddie Sanchez. So you're getting your 2-hole hitter and 4-hole hitter. That's going to make it better. And not to make excuses, we didn't play well enough, particularly in August, to get it done. But I think we're more athletic. We're going to be a little faster. That's a dynamic that this club did not have last year. Now you get Pagan and Cabrera. It's going to put a little more pressure on the other clubs. So it's going to make it a little easier to manufacture runs. So in that respect, we're going to be better. We kept our pitching for the most part intact. Sure, we moved Jonathan Sanchez, but we got a nice everyday player for that. And with Vogelsong having his breakthrough season last year, that allows Brian to make a move like that, knowing he's our 4th starter. And I think Barry Zeno's going to do a nice job for us in that 5th spot. I do. So I think keeping the pitching pretty much in place is going to really continue to have us being contenders. I'm a firm believer that's what this game's about, pitching and defense.
Have you had a chance to talk to Melky and Angel to see how they feel about coming to hit at AT&T Park?
I have not. I you know, briefly have talked to Pagan, but Melky I haven't had a chance to sit down with. His English is not quite as good as Pagan's, but that's what I plan on doing. That's why I'm kind of backing off exactly where they're going to play, where they're going to hit the lineup. I'd like to sit these two down and kind of give them my thoughts, coach's thoughts, and Brian's, and what we're looking at. And so we're going to stay open-minded with some spots in the batting order and out on the field.
Do you have any sort of an expectation on how many games you expect to get Freddie Sanchez last year or next year?
No, it's a tough question, really. I mean, seeing with Buster, we're hoping Freddie's going to be fully recovered by the end of spring training. He's thrown 120 feet now, and if he's all good, then ideally you like to run your starting second baseman out there. The way he swings the bat, 145 games, if not a little more than that.
In the past 3 seasons, the Giants have put together very good defenses. This is something that's just flown under the radar. They've ranked 6th, 4th, and 4th in the majors in park-adjusted defensive efficiency in 2011, 2010, and 2009, respectively. Is defense something that's been prioritized in recent years? Is this by design?
Some of it is, but sometimes it's the luck of the draw and the makeup of the roster. Also, defense can be a little bit deceiving. For instance, we've got a fly ball, strikeout, pop-up pitching staff. So, for instance, the 2010 defense, I think Bochy will admit, didn't have necessarily the best range in the infield. But because we had depth and we could get some late-inning adjustments done in the infield and the outfield, whether it was Ishikawa playing first or having Sherholtz come off the bench or get Huff, on the bench later in the game if he was a left fielder or Burrell even. So sometimes it depends on what your choices are. But the ballpark really begets. You need as much possible defense.
Yeah.
Keeping on the theme of defense, do you have any sort of special metrics that you guys use for defense? Because I know that's kind of been in the baseball research community, that's been the next frontier to look at. Do you have any special things, or is it primarily scouting, or do you just
there are some good metrics out there. The problem is they're not as refined.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that everybody's looking forward to, and I think Bloomberg is still probably at the cutting edge of this, that they're going to try to do it, through a video system that is more accurate.
Because I think Sports Vision is also...
Yeah, I'm not sure where Bloomberg is with this. They were the first to kind of... and we were one of the first parks that they used to kind of set it up as a model, versus kind of doing the eyeball type of thing as far as range factor. And a lot of which applies also, Bochy will tell you, to the base running. Sometimes the base running can be deceiving. Obviously you want to be in the plus range with that, but a lot of that can be as simple as, as a team, whether you can go first or third or second to home, or how many guys actually can advance from, first base to score. And some of that is year to year based on really how athletic you were. And that has nothing to do with stolen bases. And sometimes stolen bases are being caught stealing. If it's a smaller sample size, can really be used against you. You get penalized that way. So I don't know that the fielding is a metric that everybody's as comfortable with right now. We also use a lot of video that we try to, that there's a way to capture, for instance, every error that was made at whatever position you want to look at, whether it was our players or somebody else's, and from that video you can kind of tell the mistake that was made, whether it was physical, whether it was a range situation, whether it was an arm, situation in the play or whatnot. So you kind of use whatever you can at the end.
Given the volatility and injury risk of pitchers in general, is there any concern about adopting a pitching-first philosophy when it entails locking up multiple expensive pitchers into their 30s? Is that a concern?
You know, that Bochy can answer. You know, we know that Verducci opinions out there, and quote, the Verducci effect is, you know, well chronicled now. The problem with that is that you don't look into the human side of things. You don't look into who the manager was, who the pitching coach was. And it goes to a pitch count, let's say. There are guys that can throw high pitch counts, or let's say more on the average than 100 pitches, and that's really as the result of their strength, their mechanics, or in some cases, like with Bochy and Rags, we very rarely have adjusted our rotation. So as off days fall, everybody else always gets that extra off day. The other thing too is that, you know, with starting pitchers, sometimes the strength of the bullpen, or how strong your bullpen, really is a factor in what kind of stress innings they get into, or how and when you can take them out of the game. But to answer your question, what's difficult is that, you know, let's use Lincecum or Kane as an example. I mean, at a young age, all of a sudden they've got a lot of innings, but again, this is probably where Bochy can jump in. I think that they've really been protected in terms of being used, you know, very carefully and judiciously, and not stretched beyond the point of being abused. And every pitcher in their workload is different, including whether they can have a bullpen session in between, or there's a lot of factors.
There are, you know, and it's, you know, during the course of a game, it's the stress that they may have in 1 or 2 innings. Could be early in the game, and you know, and Righetti is, you know, he does a great job with this too. I mean, he can recognize when the guy's changing his delivery, but I think if anything, I think we've almost went the other way too much, where we have babied these pitchers a little bit, and I think that's been the cause of injuries, because they don't build the arm strength up, and then when you ask them to, then, you know, that's a load they're not used to, and I think they get accustomed to it. But you have to be careful. You don't. It's not to the point where you're, I hate to say abused, but you know, you're stressing them out every game. One game I may let Timmy go 130 pitches, maybe a couple over. I don't have a set number, but next day we may watch him. But the next game he may be in a real good place, and we'll let him go. You know, I think you got to trust your eyes here, and but you know, again, we know how important the staff is, and we need to take care of them. But I think they've gotten used to the load that they carry, and that's why they're so good. Including Bumgarner, threw over 200 innings last year, and he gets better the more we let him go.
Brian, what was the thought process in locking up Javier Lopez and Jeremy Affeldt so early on in the offseason?
You know, it was complicated. Every exercise or model we created, 2 things applied, and they were kind of interlocking. The pitching staff was going to change. We knew that we probably couldn't pay Sanchez $6 million in arbitration. We knew and we hoped to use him as a trade chip, which we did. For instance, to get Cabrera. We knew Zito was going to become the 5th starter. And we also knew 2 other things. One, you know, people forget that Wilson crashed and burned and didn't come back, didn't finish the season. In fact, Castillo finished the season as a closer. And he wasn't going to start throwing, being Wilson, until after the first year. We're going to take a conservative approach, not do anything surgical. And because of that, and because of the games that we saw that Lopez and Affeldt, you know, pitching a lot of leverage situations, tied up a run or 2 runs, and runs that wasn't ready, that we couldn't do anything really to weaken that bullpen or that staff. And by the way, we also had to pay for, you know, Timmy's arbitration potential, or what became a 2-year contract. The other exercise that we conducted was, no matter what we did with the offense, we were convinced that in our league, more so in our division, in the parks we're in, we're going to play close games. And you're really defined by having to win those close games. And if you don't have a bullpen, or you don't have an ability to close those games down, no matter how many runs you score, we decided to stay pitching centric. But it was a complicated process.
I know Brian Wilson says that he's feeling good. He's been throwing. If he's not able to go the end of spring training, going into the season, who would you look to for Plan B as the closer?
Well, I think you just move guys up in the role that they're in. We're fortunate here that we have a few guys who are accustomed to pitching or comfortable even pitching late in the ball game and then even closing. And really, it's everybody in the bullpen, including we signed Cody Hensley, who will be competing for a job here. He set up for the Marlins last year at times, but Ramon Lopez, I think you start there, and then Affelt and Casilla move up. Now, last year ended up jumping Casilla, who got in that role and looked very comfortable and did a great job for us. So he could assume that role. But yeah, it's nice to have the luxury of having 5 or 6 guys who aren't afraid to pitch in that 9th inning.
You mentioned a model for the relief pitchers. Did you expect it to be a strong demand for the relief pitchers this offseason?
What really worried us, if Lopez and or Affel got out into the market, we couldn't replace him or perhaps even resign him. And I think we did well to hold on to him. Maybe a little bit more of a price point than we wanted, but it just became such an acute need, and we didn't want to weaken that area.
Sorry, is it likelier that the Giants will trade Brian Wilson in the near future, or that you'll extend him because he's entering his final year of arbitration eligibility?
Well, we hope he's at full strength through the beginning of the year, and we get a lot more information throughout spring training that he's on a good path, and we'd like to extend him. We think this guy's going to pitch a lot of baseball as a closer, and I can't say that right now we have anybody in the wings that's rearing their head anytime too. So Henry will be in spring training, but again, he's a guy that hasn't pitched above AA, and sometimes closers can be good situations and bad situations for the team. Sometimes they end up being in that position because you got a lot of depth, or sometimes you're in a losing situation and you got nothing to lose. That's kind of like what Rod Beck's history was early on in the organization. He was on some bad teams that allowed him to be baptized into the position. Versus, in a perfect world, I think a manager would love to have a setup man ready to graduate, so if the closer became too expensive, or if you want to use that money elsewhere, that you thought somebody else could step in. But as Boch can tell you, these guys are different animals. I mean, not everybody can close contrary to popular belief.
Did you consider adding a free agent shortstop like Jimmy Rollins or Furcal or something like that, who would come in as the unquestioned starter? Or was that never really on the table?
You know what? We talked about a lot of possibilities, but no matter how we pushed things around, we knew what the pitching was going to cost, and we didn't think that in overpaying for a shortstop, it'd be a right way to spend or spread the money versus giving Crawford a chance. Crawford was really rushed last year. Did an admirable job under some tough circumstances. I think he'll be much more comfortable this year, especially after the fall league and after some of the adjustments he's made. The thing that we worried about was how we were going to solve protecting him as the starting shortstop, especially against left-handed pitching, or if he needed some time off. And fortunately, along the timeline, we were able to get Fontenot back, and then just recently signed Terrio, because you need another right-handed possibilities, and that will flush out a play.
So with
spring training.
with the Terrio signing, does this give Crawford like a shorter leash? I mean, I know you got him for the left-handed pitching too, but if Crawford struggles, is he gonna have a shorter leash to just go to a bench role?
I don't think so. I mean, we all want Crawford to be the shortstop going into spring training, no matter really what kind of spring he is. We think he's that talented with the glove. And if the lineup does improve the way we hope it will or it should, you know, that we can hit him down in the order and Boch can protect him, you know, against some of those tough left-handers or when he needs time off. But
And I don't want Crawford to think that either, so I'll talk to him, Brandon, and just you know, make sure he knows that this doesn't change his situation, and because we need him to relax out there and just and not feel any added pressure because of material coming on board to help out.
Andrew Baggerly reported that you were far down the road in a potential trade of Jeff Kempinger. What was the deal that was discussed?
a trade?
Yeah, that Andrew Baggerly reported that you were far down the road on a trade of Kempinger. Is that?
I don't remember that at all.
Just not recently, last year.
That was
during the offseason.
It was the same day you acquired Pagan. That was reported that you were far down the road in trade talks of Kempinger. That's
Not that I
accurate?
recall. Some teams had asked about him,
Which team?
and we didn't know whether we were going to tender him a contract. But I don't remember being close to any trade. It would have had to been the winning meetings. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about. That we were, I guess we had something going on as far as trading him instead of acquiring.
Guys, two more questions and then we'll wrap it up.
With Tim Lincecum, locked up for his final 2 arbitration years, I know it has a lot of Giants fans worried that as soon as he's eligible, he's going to leave. Since we have 2 years to play with, are you looking at trying to, get some big bats in here that'll make him want to stay? Or do you have any kind of plan to try to lock him up longer?
well, first of all, no matter what was reported, or maybe some of the comments that I think the agent might have made, the makeup of the team was never an issue with Timmy signing the 2-year deal or entertaining a long-term deal. Timmy, like San Francisco, has been treated very well here. He's been compensated very well along the whole way. And as it turned out, I think it was a win-win to get these 2 years out of the way to kind of give us a baseline for how we can go forward. I mean, let's be realistic. He's making $18 million this year plus the $500 signing bonus and then 22 next year. It's a tough puzzle to figure out with all the success he's had as early as he's had, how he compares against some of the guys that sign free agent contracts. Well, I can tell you this: what I just told the beat writers, that our budget can hold both Lincecum and Kane in trying to get more offense in here. Now, we hope to get more offense going on into the future, no matter what happens with Huff and what happens with any free agent to be out of Sandoval, out of Posey, and out of Belt. We all think, including the manager of the coaching staff, that those 3 guys principally could be the middle of your order for a while, and that's really what we're anxious to see. Is this the next wave, like the pitching was the next wave? And along the way, Crawford's going to become a better hitter.
That kind of, you mentioned this earlier, that Brandon Belt's situation wasn't necessarily ideal, similar to Crawford's. What kind of expectations, I guess, do you have for him coming into 2012? Do you expect him to join or be with the club leading spring training, or go to AAA?
We're going to talk about it and talk to him, especially because he really was put into a buzzsaw last year. As you know, under duress, really starting with the injury to Ross, and then what we thought he was capable of doing at the major league level, and it turned out he wasn't ready to be that consistent in helping the lineup. He's really taken to heart the opportunity that's at hand by going to winter ball, by playing very well in the Dominican in a tough league, by going to our mini camp that's been in Arizona the last 3 weeks. And that, one of the things I think Bochy and I will discuss, including with him, it really might not depend on what kind of spring he has at all, as much as what the team looks like or could look like, let's say with him as the first baseman. Because we all admit that that's his future, that's his best position. That could be what is in the best interest for the team. And that also might have him relax and take on more as a hitter. But what complicates that is, you know, where does Huff fit into this? Can Huff play left field? Et cetera, et cetera. So I think Brandon certainly has a chance to make this ball club and can make this ball club better. But much like Crawford, you know, we don't want to put any extra pressure. And I think he's going to be given every opportunity to make the team.
What does Bruce Bochy bring to the table that other managers do not, in your opinion?
I think he's more resourceful than a lot of guys. I mean, very prepared, because the last 3 years, unfortunately for us, you know, on a lot of days, between guys being banged up, guys being injured, guys not performing, you've had to put together a lineup on the fly. And that he keeps everybody involved. I can honestly say that I've never had a conversation with him where after a game or the next day that, you know, I can't work with this guy anymore, or you know, you got to send this guy back to the minor leagues, or we absolutely need this. He's always playing with the cards that are dealt, you know, at that time, and with the deck at hand, and the players appreciate that too. They know they're always going to be given a chance to perform or really contribute to the team, and you know, not every manager is like that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Bruce and Brian, thank you very much.